Hi, so I wanted to explain a little bit more about UVs and texturing and what that means. A lot of times you're going to do it in the 3D modeling software and then bring it over to Mudbox. I had a lot of people that didn't unwrap UVs, and because of our time constraints and all that, I let it go, and Mudbox will automatically create an unwrap for you. But you may have issues where it won't go back into Maya or back into 3ds Max. And I also want you guys to know what it means to unwrap. So the best way that I like to think about it is that you are wrapping a present. And again, think about your wrapping paper. Your wrapping paper is basically a 2D surface, right? We have an image, flat, 2D. But we're trying to put it onto a 3D object. So think about wrapping a basketball. Obviously a box is a little bit easier because it has straight edges, but a lot of times we don't get that flexibility. So I have this object here, and what I'd like to do is look at it in, we'll just start simply, in face mode. I'll select the whole object. Okay, at the top, if you go up to UVs, you can see we have our UV editor. So by default, this object at this point is going to start out like that, but that's not important. I'll explain some more. Here's what I want you to look at. We have your unwrapping different options, okay? So a lot of times you want to say, well, what shape did I start with? Or what is this most like? My handle down here is most like a cylinder. The blade is all sorts of different shapes. In probably, I think 2013, they added this automatic, which is really nice. And you can break your shape down into as many maps as you would like. I know this is also a lot and a little bit complicated, but I'll try to give you as much as you can, and then we'll take it from there. So let's just do an automatic. So what automatic does is it actually projects from different planes. So you can see I have 4 different projections here that are all shining onto our object. So that's technically from how many sides are we going to unwrap this object? How many sides are we going to put wrapping paper onto it? Another way to think of an unwrap would be a projector. So a projector, when played onto a screen, looks awesome because that's a flat plane. If I were to stand in front of the screen, you would still see the texture projected, but it might stretch a little bit by my nose or by my arms because that plane is now forced to be put on a 3D object. So with automatic mapping, it kind of, again, shines from multiple angles. So we can go to UV and then look at the UV editor. So this is broken down into a lot of pieces now. Okay, it's kind of hard to tell, like I don't even know which part's what. Maybe this is the top or the bottom. This looks like the blade. It is unwrapped, and blue means it's facing in the right direction. Your normals, or the direction at which your texture is going to show, is facing the right way. But maybe I want to make it a little bit more simplified for myself. Simple always I enjoy. So if we look down again, I think this looks most like a cylinder. I'm just going to assign a blend to get rid of what I already have on here. So I can go into face mode, and I'm going to select the entire cylinder. Now with unwrapping, and especially bringing into Mudbox, you want to make sure that every face does get unwrapped. So make sure that you've got all the faces that you think you have. So now that I have this, I can go to UV, cylindrical. Okay. This looks great. It's wrapped around. These allow you to scale your unwrap. And you can always use in your attribute editor this. By default, we're okay. I don't need to get too much into that. Then here, pretty much our blade is going to look the same from this angle all the way through. So I'm going to go back into my face mode, and I'm going to select my blade. And again, make sure you've got all the faces you want, and you don't want to overdo the faces you already selected because it will change it. So I've got all my blade selected. Awesome. I'm going to do a planar map. Again, that projector, because it's going to shine directly onto here. It'll be great. And then just looking at this, lastly, I'm going to do these 4 faces at the top because I'm going to put some sort of texture on there to make them, who knows, just to show you. So I can do another planar map, and we can see this is actually facing the wrong way. So in our projection height here, we're going to just need to scale that up. So I can see this is not facing that top. So we need to rotate this. I'm just going to put in a 90-degree. Perfect. Now this fits right on top. If you're kind of struggling with understanding directions and stuff like that, I would recommend that you apply a checker texture to it. So actually I already did the blend. So I'll just go into object mode, select my object, go all the way over to my blend. I don't know if you guys have heard about deleting history, but that would clean this up. And then in my color channel, I'm going to actually just put a checker. So I've unwrapped these separately, so that's why you can see the sizing is a little bit different. We can adjust that. But if you do this first, when you apply the map, you'll be able to see the direction a little bit more. I'm going to go into UVs and my UV editor. You want to actually select your object. Okay. So now we can see we've got different colors. That's because things are overlapping. So if you right mouse click and hold, I can go into shell. Now shell is each thing that I unwrapped separately. Okay, so I'm going to start scaling and moving these down. It's the same hotkeys as when you're in the viewport. So pretty easy that way. And then I'll finally do this one. And the main goal here is we want this to fit nicely on our space here. If we're getting really technical about texturing, you want these checker boxes to be the same size. So you can see if I scale, we're making the checker up here a lot bigger. Maybe we can scale this to make things a little bit smaller. I'm not looking for them to be perfect, and I'm not even looking, you don't necessarily have to do this, I just want you to be aware this is how you do it, and if you're encountering any issues, this is how you would do it. Okay, so this is now my UV layout. This one is purple because I've got both sides here that are overlapped, and then we've got blue and red for the direction that they're facing. So this one technically you could flip. Different class. All right, so nice and clean, easy to understand. I'm going to save my scene just to make sure. Okay. So now we need to send this to Mudbox. So I'm going to go into object mode, send to Mudbox. For some reason, my computer, when I send it to Mudbox, we get let's see here. This is saying unsupported maps checker. It might want me to just put back on my base blend. Oh, we're fine. Okay. So we've got our object in Mudbox. Now you can always go to UV view and see it's the exact layout that I had in Maya. And now you can paint. So, we'll go, we'll go into our paint. I'll add a new diffuse, whatever you want to call it. And then same as usual, let's see, I'll do some brick. Let's make this 10%. I'll do grass, because of course, what blade is not made with the grass texture? And I've got everything just grayscaled here for the sake of time. Of course, you'll also add some subdivisions. So I'm just going to hit Shift D, level it up, added polygons, keep adding my texture. Okay, you will add all of it. Then I'm just going to export channel merged. I'll call this diffuse. It's saving my texture. And now you can see that my diffuse is mapped out, you know, how I wanted it to be. And the main thing here is that it's the same in Maya and in Mudbox, so that no matter what detail I added or what I did, it can easily go back on my low poly model. Okay, again, I know that was a lot. Feel free if you need me to specify on anything, but this should help to kind of fill in some missing pieces. I know not every time you'll run into an issue, but just if you want to know, you know, how it's done in the industry, this will solve your problems. All right, hope you have a good Friday.